How to acquire the 3 most important things for becoming a professional player. Hey, my fellow sufferer. I hope you're well and I hope you're healthy in today's episode. I want to talk about these 3 things that I, in my opinion, find to be the most crucial things of all. And these are especially for you because I know that some of you really aspire to become professional players or even just leveling up your playing and maybe meet better musicians, new musicians, make good impressions. Exactly for this topic, this episode is for you. So, the 3 most important things, starting with 1, being a human being people enjoy to hang out with. So being a nice guy. And, I have this little story when I was 21. That was in 2002. I was fortunate to go on a European tour with a metal band called Advance. And we were a supporting act for a famous metal band called Rhapsody. And that was pretty nice, European tour, 3 weeks with, all the goodies. We had a nightliner with beds, and we were playing major cities in Europe, like in France, Paris, Lyon, Spain, Madrid, Barcelona, and Italy, Switzerland, Germany. It was really an amazing experience. And lots of musicians, 3 bands. And there was one musician who was a really good player, a really good musician, but he was an asshole and a narcissist. And he was really not fun to hang out with. And it took 1 week that all of the musicians within that tour and all the crew members and everybody that was with us noticed that this person is really... It's not nice to hang with him, and you didn't felt comfortable for a long time hanging with him. It was kind of embarrassing sometimes. He was a very good musician, very good player, but everyone hated him, and it was a tour with everything you expect. And after a while, people were making fun out of him, and that really sticked with me. Hey friend, just a quick note. I'm not a CEO yet, but please give me 30 seconds of your time. First, I want to thank you for tuning into my channel. It really means a lot to me, and this channel becomes more and more a big part of my life. I feel like my journey on this channel just gets started. So if you like what I'm doing here, please join the 20% viewers that are actually subscribed to this channel. That would really give me a massive support with the YouTube algorithm, and therefore helps me improve the videos even more. Thank you, fellow sufferer. And if you don't behave like a normal person, whatever a normal person is, but let's say if you don't behave nice and humble, people don't want to play with you or will not call you again. I experienced this with since I'm playing professionally with different occasions, small occasions. That European tour, that was quite a big thing for me. I was 21. This was in 2002. That was a big thing for me, and it was really professional. It was a dream come true for me. In the years after, my career was much smaller, and I was just playing professional gigs with other professional musicians. And once in a while, there were people that were not so comfortable to hang out with, like people who were full of themselves, talking about themselves all the time. And sometimes I find that people are playing like the way they are. For instance, I had people... I had this one gig, it was amazing. It was a jazz gig in a sextet 6 people, and we had a new organ player, and we were playing under this very little shelter, as it is as a musician. You always have very small stages, and we're playing outside, and we had this little shelter, kind of tent, 3 to 3 meters, and the keyboard player just like brought his electrical Hammond organ. I don't know what kind of instrument that was. It was like a really big organ, and it took more than half of the place under this tent. So we had drums to fit in there, we had bass to fit in there, and it was 5 people. Sorry, we had 2 horn player and a trumpet player. So you come in there, and I think that was no one could say the guy didn't do it in the first place, but that was that kind of gig where we knew where we're going to play, and he did this anyway. So how selfish can one be to bring in so many things, so the other people's barely have space for themselves anymore? So nobody likes to play with people like this in long term. So if you want to get called again, be humble, be nice, and play good. And for playing good, I think I really can help you. I can provide for you a free explanation and memory trick I just put together as a PDF file, a free PDF file that you can download. It's turned out pretty nice, I think. I'm explaining melodic minor and why it does work on so many chords that aren't melodic minor in the first place. So it's lots of memory tricks and a little explanation for understanding the whole principle on how using different modes from melodic minor. So the link is in the description. You can get this for free. So be humble, be nice, be a nice guy, and sometimes you can even help. You can help your musicians, like carrying instruments around. And I think the whole package, probably most of you guys are humble and nice people, but I want to say it anyway, if you want to make yourself a reputation as a bass player, if you want to be someone people like to call for a job, be nice, be cool to hang out with, and just make a good impression. The second thing is being prepared. So important, being prepared. I'm playing professional now since 2007. I could count in that European tour thing. Two years I did that, or maybe it was more. It was 1 year. I did 2 tours within 1 year with that band. But when I studied music in 2006, slowly in 2007, I started to play with lots of jazz bands, and I always had lots of bands and were playing pretty much. So that was really good exercise, and playing lots of gigs. I noticed there are basically two kind of gigs. The one gig is the one that you play with a fixed band. You have your own band. You play with your own musicians, the ones that you've been in that band for years, and you have the material that you're playing all the time. You know that stuff, and once or twice you have, or sometimes you have rehearsal occasionally, and you deepen some stuff, or you do some new stuff. I think it's good if you are over prepared, or if you're always the best prepared person in the room. Don't be influenced by other musicians in that band who aren't so perfectly prepared and sometimes come in too late, or sometimes things don't work. We're talking about developing a career here, and building a reputation for yourself. So even in these situations with bands, play totally prepared. I find that to be in the last years that I played, and all the years that I played, I found there to be basically three kind of musicians. The first is the one that is a really, really fantastic musician, genius like, highly creative output, plays virtuoso like, and really kills it on his instrument, maybe in composing, and in other disciplines he's so much better than all the rest. But he turns up too late for the gig or the rehearsal every time. He barely comes shaved, sometimes not even with clean clothes. He didn't prepared his songs for the gig because he can play it anyway. He learns it as he goes, you know. His batteries are empty or his gear doesn't work. And lots of the time he probably relates on other musicians to take him to the gig because his car is kaput, damaged, and he forgets to bring it to the workshop since 6 years, you know. All these things I've experienced lots of the time. So that this is what I think is the highly the genius, the creative person. The third person maybe is the one that is a good player, okay player, and he does his job well. He knows his stuff. He comes prepared. He's on time at the gig. Everything works, and the people know they can rely on him. And yeah, of course, I think this is even a bit better, you know. Not of course, sorry. You can make your own. You can have your own opinion, but I figured that was much nicer playing with people that are maybe not the best musicians in the room, but you know they're good. They're doing their job. They're delivering everything. They're professional, but they are there on time. They come in clean clothes, and they are prepared for the gig, and know their stuff. Yeah, and the third person maybe is both genius musician, virtuoso on the instrument, highly creative, very, very inspiring person, and he's there on time. He's got a nice suit, nice clothing. He always comes, you know. You can wear a beard, of course, but you gotta be in shape. You gotta, how you say, yeah, you come clean and you take care of your, how you look on the gig. Sorry for my bad English. Yeah. Yeah, and everything works. They're prepared, and you know, this person just outperforms everyone, everything, and sometimes you feel bad beside him because that person is so good in everything he does. This is highly professional, and I rarely find these people. Probably, you know, the jazz stars we all admire are this kind of musician. Not probably. That's it, I guess. Well, I'm not in the game that I could tell stories of musicians that are unreliable or so. I guess probably they exist too, but I really believe you can only make a career in business if you play good and if you very, very, very reliable and a nice person and prepared. Yeah. The second kind of gig is something that I did very often, and it's a kind of gig where you don't know the people you're playing with, or you met them for the first time, or you met them once in a while every few years or so. And usually these gigs work like this, that I get notes, sheets, and charts in advance. And sometimes maybe there is a rehearsal one, and then the gig, or maybe no rehearsal, or the rehearsal is very short and it is just right before the gig. Um, yeah, and in that case, it depends. If you're a good reader, it's a bonus for you because you don't have to prepare the sheet music so much. But if you're not a good reader like me, you have to get into the music and really dig into the charts that you get, you know. I did lots and lots of choir jobs, you know, where you just accompany, where a choir hires a band and the band accompanies the repertoire of the choir. And in Germany, the charts and notes very often are like horrible. That we get charts for a pop song of 2.5 minutes or 3, and the director of the choir gives us notes like with 7 pages or even more, where you have to have even 2 note stands for it. I had this all the time, and this is very uncomfortable. So, and then what I did always was preparing my notes and cutting them and trying to shrink them, or even make my own lead sheets if I like them, if I liked it better to read it that way. You know, all these choir notes also barely have 4 bars in a staff, which I think we in pop and jazz music find very comfortable, having lead sheets where we have 4 bars in a staff and not strange numbers like three bars, then all of a sudden we have 5, or then 6, or we have 2 in one staff. And you know, that's probably for people who are very good readers, like sax players, trumpet players, or classical musicians. I think guitar players, bass players, of course we can read, but not as virtuose as classical musicians or maybe horn players. So you have to do your work there and make sure that you can play the material and that you practice this a lot, so there are no questions when you come to rehearsal. You know, in such these situations for first rehearsal, I find nobody expect that you nail it flawlessly from the start. But if you do, you make quite an impression, and this is good for your reputation. This is good for your career. So if you can, put in the extra work and make a terrific job when playing those gigs. Combining with being nice, you know, people will remember you, that you check the boxes. Nice guy, plays very well, comes well prepared. Wow, you know, that makes an impression. And yeah, that's very important. Let me see in my notes here. Oh yeah, you know, if you do this for some time, you will notice all the things, you know, that you one thing is that you bring extra spare cables for in case that one cable is not working. You bring extra batteries, both for your bass and for lights for your note stands, for example. Or if you play outside, you have to get these little magnets for your note stand. You know, not all of a sudden your notes are going with the wind, and you don't want that, or you don't want to have to rely on other musicians you play with to ask them, hey, can you give me some of your magnets? Of course, that's no problem. But for making a career, if you have all this by yourself on your belt, it's just better. Makes better impression, makes a professional impression. And I think that is what we're talking about here today. Everything I just said applies to the studio jobs as well. You know, also here, good reader, bad reader. However, but if you can prepare, if you know the material before, it's nice. You can totally prepare. If you're in the studio and for a job, and they say, hey, this is the job, here are the chords, here are the notes, play it. Okay, that's pretty hard. You need some skill and some experience. This can be hard. One time I had this some time ago, and what happens is when keyboard player compose and even produce bass lines with songs, they do strange things. And I found some demanding material there, and fortunately I had time to sit there and check the notes, because like I said, I'm not the best reader. And and then I could manage it, because we came as a group, and a guitar player I worked with, and he did the first part, and I had time to prepare, so that was fine. Okay, a third time, and the third skill, and the last one is be there on time for the gig and the rehearsal. I think I never came too late for a rehearsal or a gig. In fact, I'm always the first person to show up. And to me, that's the standard. To me, coming too late for me is one of the biggest pain in my ass. What's even worse is if I come too late. Imagine this: I come too late to rehearsal or to a gig, and I even come with a broken cable. So when all these people wait for me, and I finally come in half an hour later or whatever, and then there's another problem with a broken cable, or my battery doesn't work, or anything. Imagine that. To me, that is a horror scenario. So I think I've been there. What leaded me to come extra prepared and extra early to gigs and rehearsal, because I really don't want me to happen these things. Because if I'm a sensitive person, to be honest, if I would appear late on the gig with something broken or just late, I would be so stressed out that I would probably play way worse, or I wouldn't play as good as I can, and I would feel terrible all the time. This just applies to me. Maybe it's not your problem, or you don't have the same problem, but with me it's like this. I couldn't play good because these things stress me. Yeah. So this is so basic, calculate some buffer time in before you come to the rehearsal or the gig. And I really wanna stress that do this even with guys that you work for years. At some times maybe it becomes a bit forgiven, but I would really like to encourage you for your career, and also, for your life, to be reliable and to be on time. And also for your fellow musicians, because, there are these people, every one of us knows them, who aren't there on time. Okay, maybe I have to say again, I don't know how it is in other countries. In Germany, Germany is a bit particular in that case, because we notice sometimes that maybe people from Spain, from France, from Italy, they don't have the same they think differently, maybe, I don't know, and I don't want to say that it is more bad. So I think they just have a different mindset. In Germany, we tend to be very precise on time. This does not apply to our trains in Germany, to the Deutsche Bahn, that totally is not on time. But we are drilled in a way and are in the work habits that we are very on time. And so maybe in other countries it's different, but I would really encourage you to come on time and put in some extra buffer. You know, when you come by car, I don't have a car anymore, to be honest. I do it differently. I decided to, since 7 years already, I'm playing gigs without a car. It works. I have my setup is very, very lightweight, even lighter than Mark bass. I use here these GR basses and FMC cabinets. I can talk about in another episode, but yeah. So I managed to make it lighter, and I don't need a car, and I'm never too late. Sometimes it's a pain in the ass because I have to plan in much more time, but it works, and people know me as somebody they can rely on, and I'm never too late. Sometimes you have to consider that you have to find a parking lot if you with a car, or that you have to get some food or something to drink. Calculate that in, please. I really think if you want to build a professional reputation and career, I can't say this too often, I would really take that so seriously. I have very good experience with that, and yeah. Preparation, what I mentioned before, the second point, preparation is part of being reliable. You can also prepare yourself better with playing with that melodic minor explanation and memory trick I provide for you. I took the effort to put together that little 6-pager file where I explain melodic minor, how it works, why it works on many chords that aren't melodic minor in the first place, and how you can get that melodic minor sound into your playing with little memory tricks. I think it turned out to be very good, and you can download it for free in the description box down here. Okay. I think that's it. Let's wrap it up for today. Be a nice guy, be prepared, and be reliable, and come on time to your gigs. Yeah, I hope you can get something out of this video for today, and I wish you a good week. Thanks for watching, friends. Thanks for watching. Have a good one, and see you next time. Bye.